It's quite disturbing when individuals disappear, but what about when entire nations disappear without a trace or any explanation? Here are 10 civilizations that mysteriously disappeared. Number 10 is Catalhöyük. First excavated in 1958, the ancient Turkish city of Catalhöyük dates back to around 7500 BC. This city was home to as many as 10,000 people. But what's so mind-blowing about Catalhöyük is how it was built. With a kind of a honeycomb structure, there were no streets or footpaths. Instead, the buildings were all attached to each other, and residents would use the rooftops to meet, cook, and traverse the city. In order to get inside, you'd have to go through a trap door in the ceiling of each home. Everyone seems to have been on equal footing with no dominant gender or class system. Pretty forward thinking for the time. However, around 5000 BC, the city was abandoned, and to this day, no one knows exactly what became of its people. Number 9 are the Picts. The Picts were a tribal warrior people who lived in Scotland until around the 10th century. No one knows exactly what language the Picts spoke, or even what they technically called themselves. The name Pict seems to have been what the Romans called them, meaning to paint. Researchers believed that the Picts may have painted and tattooed their faces, hence the name. They were so ferocious that they were able to rebuff even the Roman Empire's advances into modern-day Scotland, which is why most of the Highlands have no Roman ruins, unlike the rest of the United Kingdom. Recent archaeological findings suggest that they had a rich culture, creating stunning stone carvings. While no one can be sure, there is evidence that the Picts may have amalgamated with other tribes, or were wiped out in a bloody war against invading Vikings. However, no one truly knows. Number 8 are the Ancestral Puebloan people. The Ancestral Puebloans lived in modern-day New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, and Utah between the 7th and 13th centuries. Building many of their homes between huge overhanging cliffs, they constructed intricate apartment-like planned communities. Etched into the walls of the canyons themselves, the Ancestral Puebloan people were able to protect themselves from attackers, with the only accessible entrance to their settlements via hazardous rock cliffs, which would make even the most enthusiastic climber think twice. Interestingly, in Chaco Canyon, they drew huge paintings of unusual figures, which look like strange, unearthly humanoid creatures. There seems to have been a mass exodus from these settlements in the end, with one theory proposing that severe drought led to internal warfare and even cannibalism among them. Or was it an unearthly threat that we'll never know about? Number 7 is the Sanxingdui Culture. In China, there was once an incredible civilization called the Sanxingdui. This discovery has challenged the accepted story of how Chinese culture developed. Carbon dating suggests that the Sanxingdui culture existed around the 12th or 11th centuries BC. What set them apart from their contemporaries was their expertise with metals. Incredible examples of their work has been found, such as the earliest example of a life-sized freestanding human statue and the Sanxingdui tree, which reaches 3 meters in height, is made of bronze and is adorned with birds, flowers, and other ornaments. Debate continues to this day over what exactly happened to the Sanxingdui culture, but current theories suggest that they may have been wiped out by a cataclysmic flood or earthquake. Number 6 are the Clovis People. The Clovis people were once thought to be the first group of humans to live in the Americas. While that is hotly debated, what we do know is that they lived in the Americas around 12,000 years ago. The Clovis people developed several complex hunting tools, such as bows and axes, and recent genetic testing suggests that upwards of 80% of Native American populations may be descended from the Clovis people. So you may be wondering, where's the mystery? Well, we do know that some survived through DNA testing, but their entire culture died out. Some suggest that a comet brought about climate change and fractured their society, while others claim that they simply changed over time, splitting off and forming the cultural basis for several subsequent native groups. All that we know is that they existed. We do not know where they went. Number 5 is the Cucuteni-Trypillian culture. When food becomes scarce or war threatens to wipe out an entire people, you would expect the largest groups to weather the storm. But that's exactly what makes it so mysterious about the Cucuteni-Trypillian people. Between 5,000 and 3,000 years ago, this culture dominated an area of over 906,000 square kilometers in Eastern Europe. They built huge settlements housing up to 46,000 people in one city. By ancient standards, that is incredible. While no one knows for certain what happened to the Cucuteni-Trypillian culture, it's likely that they were the victims of a number of factors, such as a drought and outside attackers from other groups. Interestingly though, archaeologists have struggled to find any burial sites, as if they straight up vanished. Number 4 are the Nabataeans. Around 600 BC, the nomadic tribes in northern Arabia created a powerful civilization known as the Nabataeans. Living in a sweltering climate across modern-day Jordan, the Nabataean kingdom were expert water engineers who developed innovative water gathering techniques, gathering rainwater through pipelines in reservoirs and hiding it from their enemies in underground cisterns. They had no borders, their empire consisting of oases in the desert linked together by popular trade routes. We know that literacy, democratic principles, and anti-slavery beliefs were important to the Nabataeans, but much remains a mystery. It seems that the kingdom was subsumed by the Roman Empire eventually, but no one knows where all the people went. All that they left behind are empty cities carved in stone, covered by centuries of sand. Number 3 is the Indus Valley civilization. The Indus people lived across the Indus Valley in modern-day Pakistan and India about 5,000 years ago. They created a huge civilization encompassing more than 1,400 cities and towns. Many of their cities were wonders of planning, using a grid system which wouldn't have been seen elsewhere for thousands of years. Historians are still puzzled by what happened to the Indus people. No one has been able to translate any of their writings, which usually would hold some clues. All that we know is that by about 1900 BC, the Indus people abandoned their homes, some burying their belongings as if to protect them from raiders. Various explanations have been suggested, including the overcrowding of their cities, but whatever happened, it was fast and it was cataclysmic. Number 2 is Arkaim. With such a large landmass, it's no surprise that Russia holds many secrets from humanity's past, and Arkaim is one such mystery. The civilization built complex cities encoded with spiritual meaning. Each city consisted of 3 concentric circular walls spreading out from the center, which were based on existing descriptions of the mythical city of King Yima. Many of the buildings were built using a swastika-like ground plan, with relics adorned by the same symbol. But of course, that symbol was a symbol of peace before it was used by the Nazis. The mystery of what happened to Arkaim stretches back to at least 4,000 BC, with scholars still trying to figure out what happened to their people to this day. And number 1 are the Moche. Lesser known but equally as impressive to the Mayans' lost South American civilization are the Moche. They lived around 1900 years ago in what is now modern-day Peru. Like other South American civilizations, they built gigantic pyramids, many of which are now so eroded that they are mistaken for naturally occurring hills. The Moche were among the greatest metalworkers who ever lived, creating a vast array of intricate artifacts. months. For around 600 years, their civilization thrived. Then, around 500 to 600 AD, they stopped building huge temples and began building fortresses instead. They survived through a terrible drought that lasted 30 years, which makes it so much more mysterious as to what could have possibly ended them. Many historians believe that it would have had something to do with the sudden rapid building of the fortresses, but what they were keeping out, no one knows. So, that was 10 civilizations that mysteriously disappeared. If you enjoyed this, remember to give it a big thumbs up. Also, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications by clicking the little bell beside the subscribe button so that you never miss a thing, because I release new videos all the time. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.